This week on The Valley.
A bash party for Jax. This is not what this is. And this is going to keep going this way. I'm just going to walk.
Well, then walk. There's the door. There's the front door.
I'm going to talk to Brittany and then I'm going to go.
Well, Brittany doesn't want to talk to you.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about The Valley Season 2, Episode 10. Let's get right into it. Alright, you guys, it's been 10 episodes, 10 weeks of drama. Okay, and this episode was just, first of all, it was supersized. So it was a little bit longer than usual, but baby, it was drama. It was full of drama. So let's get right into it because this episode got me feeling mad, angry, disgusted. Let's get right into it. So we begin the episode with Jax Taylor leaving rehab. Even though he was in a rehab facility, he was still very much involved in the drama. You know, sending messages, annoying people, which I think, this is just my personal opinion, if you really want to get some help, you should not have no damn phone access. Unless there's like an emergency, I could see that. Listen, if there's an emergency, then have whoever needs to get in contact with you, contact that facility, and then they'll get in touch with you. Or if you have something going on, then have the facility get in contact with one of your family members. But this whole thing of like unlimited access and you get to come and go as you please, no. But anywho, they did a little montage of what led to Jax going to rehab, what happened while he was there, and then here we are, Jesse picking up Jax. He says it's been 30 days. He says that he felt safe in rehab. He unpacked a lot of serious things. He says that he talked about things he thought he'd take to the grave, and he says that he cried a lot. He says that he was never held accountable in his life, and that's why he did what he did. So, okay, all that sounds good, but then in about 3, 2, 1, Jax is back. He says, nobody cared about me. Nobody even cared. Everybody was partying. My wife of 10 years couldn't even come to see me. She was partying last night and went to my bar and made it all hers. I need them to cut me a break. So then they arrived to Jax's house. Remember, his stuff was packed by Brittany and some of the others. So he sees that all his stuff is in bags, and that angered him. He then tells Jesse, I'm not taking anything from the house. Because, you know, he loves to make himself sound like he's being generous. Like, oh, I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to take that couch, which was thousands of dollars. But then, you know, he then ruins it by saying something effed up after that. So, for example, he said that the house needs to be put in the market because a woman can't handle a 5-bedroom home with 7 bathrooms. And I was like, okay, well, you're a man. Could you handle it? No. So what does it have anything to do with the woman? But anyway, Jesse mentions the mortgage, and Jax admits that he stopped paying when he found out about his friend Julian and Brittany hooking up. And he said he actually hoped that the house would go into foreclosure. That is insane. How messed up can you be? Jesse then mentioned that Zach's boyfriend is coming, and Zach wanted to throw a party for him to, you know, welcome him, but his apartment is a little bit too small, so Jesse actually offered his house, and that's where the party will be at. And Jax, when he hears this, he says, I'm going. And Jesse's like, well, it's not really my party. And Jax is like, I don't care, it's your house and I'm going. So then we see Zach. He's picking up Benji at the airport. He's on the phone with Jasmine, and he says, you know, I must really love Benji because I'm coming to pick him up. I was like, Zach, well, yeah, you're supposed to pick him up. You're his boyfriend. Who else is going to pick him up? Then they talk about the party, and Jasmine asks who's going. So Zach says that Jesse just told them about Jax inviting himself. Zach was like, okay. I mean, he's blocked by Jax on almost everything. He does know that Jax was really mad at him for being at the bar the other night. Alright, then moving along, we see Michelle and her boyfriend Aaron. Listen, I don't necessarily dislike them. I don't think Aaron is a bad guy. I actually think that they might be good for each other. I just don't really care for them. But they're in his house, he's playing with his dog, and then Michelle casually mentions that her daughter told her the other day that she was thinking what if we moved here, because she really likes the grass and Aaron's dog. And Aaron thought that was nice. Then they cook some steaks, and then Michelle gives Aaron an update about her mom. Unfortunately, her mom is deteriorating every day, and that's so sad. She's telling Aaron that she sent an email to Jesse saying that she thinks that their daughter should spend more time with her grandmother. But according to Michelle, Jesse said absolutely not. And I was like, wow, if that's true, I have to say, then shame on Jesse. Like, he's trash for that. Absolutely horrible. And I do feel bad for Michelle's situation, and I hope she has the support that she needs at this time. I think Aaron is a good support system for her. Alright, so a little later, the guys meet. It's guys' night. They want to celebrate Jax's return. By the way, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Jason is so freaking corny. So when Danny got there, he says, Danny, we're not good right now, but tonight is about Jax, okay? Let's not make it about us. I was like, shut up! I definitely believe Jasmine when she said that his friends all talk about it because he's a corny-ass man and he's got a crazy-ass wife. So to this dinner, it was Danny, Jason, Jesse, Jax, obviously, and then some of Jax's other friends. So Jax says that he learned that drinking and drugs are not a problem. It's the deep-rooted issues. And I was like, yes and no. Obviously, yes, there's deep-rooted issues that make you do that, but alcohol and drugs are not good. Like, what are we talking about? Anyway, Jax says that he wants his friends to hold him accountable. They say, do you want us to stop you from drinking? And he's like, no, I'm still going to drink. Then one of Jax's friends, he's like, you guys hijacked his bar. Can we talk about that? Danny's like, well, I didn't hijack a bar. And then Jax kind of snaps and says, you didn't hijack it, but you partook in it. What makes you think that was a good idea? Defacing my bar, it's a slap in the face for somebody who's in rehab. And I was like, okay, first of all, that is so dramatic, Jax. Your bar was not defaced, okay? They put some pictures up that someone got from a freaking printer. It's not like they destroyed anything, like, what? And if this is making you that upset, again, what did you learn? He then asks about the Santa Barbara trip, and they kind of fill him in, but he already seems to know everything, because he says to Danny, and I heard that you had secret bottles of tequila in the pantry. And then that's where Jason just can't help himself. And he's like, yeah, that's why I still call him Dark Side Danny. And you see, this is why I'm saying this guy is a joke. He's a little wuss. When you came in here, you said to Danny, let's not make this about us. Yet here you are talking and saying this. Are you like for real right now? So then Jax is like, yeah, it sounds like you have an issue, Danny. And then for Jason to sit on his confessional, I gotta say this, by the way, and for him to sit there and to say that Danny is dangerous and Danny needs to be checked into a mental health facility, shame on you, Jason. If anything, you and your wife need to be in a 51-50 hold. I am glad that Danny stood up for himself. He's like, I don't have a problem. I'm not destroying my life in any way. My life is fine. And I hear Jason go thinking he's some sort of expert. Well, you know, you don't need to drink every day to have a problem, right? You could still have a problem. And this is where I was thinking Danny is better than me, because there comes a point where if you are putting defamatory narratives into the universe, you might need to have my fist knock some sense into you. And they keep talking about he's blacked out. What is y'all's definition of blacked out? Because the Danny we saw last week was not blacked out, and that's what they kept talking about. Okay, so then it is the next day. It's the day of Zach's boyfriend's party. Benji wasn't supposed to know it was a surprise, but Jasmine, she's the one that was sort of in charge of having everybody be like, surprise! But she forgot to, there was a poster that said, like, welcome home, Benji, and they left it at the front door. So he kind of saw it before they all yelled surprise. But it was funny and it was kind of cute. So then the queen, Nia Sanchez, pulls Janet to talk because the situation has definitely gotten bigger than it needs to. So Nia says to Janet, listen, obviously Danny and Jasmine and Melissa had their unfortunate situation, but they handled it. They talked about it. Janet says, listen, I did speak negatively about your husband because Danny and his actions are horrible. Your husband gets blacked out drunk in public and makes women feel uncomfortable. Just like the other day where he was blacked out and he was saying things to me. And Nia says, okay, well, first of all, he wasn't blacked out drunk that night he had 2 seltzers, and Janet's like, well, if it takes him 2 seltzers to act like that, to act like a fool, butt in conversations and call me a snake, then maybe he's just an asshole, whether he's drunk or not. And Nia's like, listen, you are intentionally trying to bring a bad light about him. And Janet's like, I'm bringing the truth. That's what I'm bringing. And Nia says, you need to watch the way you're saying things and what you're saying. And that's when Janet says, okay, I'm done. So she gets up and leaves. Janet is, in the words of Portia, low down, dirty individual. And it's disgusting to me. It's sickening. And by the way, Janet, the way you've acted towards Danny and the things you've said about him, snake is actually the nicest word you probably could have been called, and nobody needs to be drunk to see that you are a snake. Nia's upset. She goes inside. She talks to Danny, and he's like, listen, we know who we are, and it's whatever. You know what? The fact that Nia and Danny have each other, they're already winning. Let these haters talk all they want, but it's definitely very frustrating. So then Jax arrives. I actually felt bad for Brittany for once. I actually felt bad for her being in a position where she was like uncomfortable. So he walks on in. He talks to Kristen about he got Botox today. He wants to see his son and other stuff. And of course he complains yet again about his precious bar. I was like, dude, you talk about this bar so much. Do you even have that much business in the bar? Kristen pretty much tells him not to make Brittany the bad guy. She's a good mother. And even though she's always going to be with Brittany, she wants him to know that she also wants to see him succeed and wants the best for him. Real quick, we did see, while Nia and Danny were inside, they did talk to Jesse. Nia, in a very respectful way, in a caring way, not in a judgmental, snake, low-down, dirty way. In a very nice and respectful way, Nia does tell him that Michelle had mentioned about how her mom's situation is and how Jesse didn't want to let their daughter see Michelle's mom. And Jesse says that honestly he didn't know how sick her mom truly was. And if that's true, then I was like, okay, I could believe that. But he also says that he really wants to talk to his daughter about the reality of life and death, which is understandable, of course, because she is very young and having her parents, divorce suddenly. Now she's like had this big change in where she lives, going back and forth. It can be a lot. So yes, he's right and wanted to talk to her about it. And of course, you don't want to shield your kids from reality, but he also wants to be careful. So Jack's walking around the place. He seems out of place, looking like a weirdo. He then talks to Zach. And he tells Zach pretty much the same script that he said to everybody. I did this, I did that, I talked about this, I journaled, I this, I that. And Zach's like, oh, okay. Well, what about the rage text messages? Was that part of your treatment too? And Jack says, well, Brittany took my son away from me. And Zach says, well, that's because you uncovered her cameras when your random rehab gave you an hour break. I love Zach. He was cracking me up, you guys. And Jax is like, well, that's in the past, okay? I'm not going to talk about what I did 5 years ago. I'm moving forward. And Zach's like, well, I'm not talking about what happened 5 years ago. I'm talking about what happened 5 days ago. Jax says, well, it's my house. I can do whatever I want. Which, by the way, if I were Zach, I would have said, yeah, the house that you're not paying for. So then Jack says to him, listen, I'm not going to let this be a bash Jax day. If that's the case, then I'm leaving. And Zach's like, okay, the door's right there. So then Jax is like, I'm going to talk to Brittany, then I'll go. And Zach says, well, she doesn't want to talk to you. And Jack says, well, that's none of your business. And I don't want you going into my bar either. And Zach's well, like, your partners are the ones that let me. And is that even your money in the bar? Oh, yeah, Brittany's money that she made for you. And then that's where Zach hits him with the "this is my show, not yours" line. To which Zach says, he responds, well, it wasn't for the past 30 days. So this little clip showed us yet again that Jax absolutely did not learn anything. I don't know what the hell he was journaling. Jax then leaves after that, and listen, I gotta say it again, Zach clocked Jax in such a beautiful way. So it's a new day. Jax is officially moving out, so he's getting some stuff put into a delivery truck. Tom Schwartz is there, and so is Jason. Jason seems to have Jax's back. So Jason has a lot of loyalty to a narcissistic, violent, lying drunk. But when it comes to Danny, that's where he draws the line because he's too dangerous. What a freaking joke. Anyway, Jax is packing. Brittany is communicating with Jax via Jason, something about a computer, and she also wants him to log out of the cameras and leave the key there. To which Jax says, nope, not until she lets me see my son. Then Schwartz gives him some good advice. He's like, listen, if you act in good faith, she'll be softer with you, which is true. So it's a little later, Brittany goes to the house. She gets a little emotional when she sees that all his stuff really is gone. Like, this is pretty real. Janet is there. Brittany says that she's upset that Jax keeps telling people that she's keeping Cruz away from him. She's like, his priorities are pretty clear. When he got a haircut, he got Botox. Why is he even getting Botox, by the way? Brittany then tells Janet that she filed for divorce and Jax will be served on Tuesday. Also, this is hilarious. Brittany exposes the fact that Jax has a burner account under the name Frank, and they actually showed some comments that he's left under posts about like the show or about him or whatever the case may be, and it's embarrassing. Like, he comments things like Jax is a legend or things like that. Like, and the fact that I don't think he knows that Brittany knows, it's kind of funny. We then see a wonderful scene with Danny, Nia, and their babies. They look like such great loving parents. So Nia recently went to the fertility doctor to see how many eggs she had left, and she actually had quite a bit. She thought she had lower numbers, but she's actually has a very healthy amount. Danny, of course, yes, he wants another baby, but his priority right now is honestly getting moved into a house first, which I think that's very reasonable because they already have 3 kids, and like to live in an apartment that's not that big is not really realistic. So that's what he wants to do. As we know now, she just gave birth about a week ago, I think. So now they have 4 under 4, which is amazing, and I'm glad it all worked out. Then Luke comes on over. He talks about last night. Danny says that he was honestly going to apologize to the snake, but when he heard the horrible things that she said to his wife about him, then he was like, hell no, I'm not going to apologize. And Luke's like, yeah, it's very clear that they have it out for y'all. Nia says, okay, well, let's not talk about misery anymore. Then they talk about Luke's proposal that he's been planning. So what they're going to do is that Danny and Nia are going to pretend to host a trip. But the intention of the trip is actually for the engagement. But for Kristen and everybody else, it will look like it's Danny and Nia's trip. Luke wants to do it like during the sunset. He wants to say to Kristen, look at that. And then when Kristen turns, he'll be on his knee getting ready to propose. So I'm really excited to see that. Then moving to the last scene, we see Jax in his new apartment. It's actually a really nice apartment, I gotta say. He's neighbors with Tom. Jax is doing some stuff, getting settled in, and then he gets a knock on the door, and the guy gives him the paperwork, and he says, you've been served. Jax is like, oh yeah, it's probably about the podcast. No, it was not about the podcast. It was the divorce papers. So we see him open them and see them. Tom says that the way the divorce is set up, it's actually a good thing. And then Jax is like, I'm a bad husband. I'm a great dad, but a bad husband. Tom then shows him that the story just broke on the internet about the divorce. And that was the end of the episode. I am so done with Jax. And I'm not even going to lie. When the season first began, I was actually willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, you know what, maybe he's going to rehab. Maybe this will be a good thing. But hell no. He is a lost cause. I'm over him. And when it comes to these little cringy, desperate, thirsty, dehydrated wannabes by the name of Janet and Jason, I'm sick of them too. And listen, we saw the reunion looks released today. I don't know how I feel about the reunion because the reunion was filmed after episode 2 aired. And I think they said it has something to do with the fact that Kristen and Nia were very much pregnant. And allegedly they wanted to film the reunion before they gave birth. But I don't know if it'll be a good reunion. The only reason I say that is because a lot of the drama that has happened that we've now seen, like with Danny and Nia and these wannabes, a lot of this is kind of recent. So I think that a reunion would be better when you've had all this momentum of all of us fans. We've seen this. We've commented about it on social media, this and that. And then they go and film the reunion towards the end of the season. So, they are held accountable for all that. So the fact that the reunion was filmed 2 episodes in, or it might have been 3. I don't know if it'll be a good reunion. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you guys, let me know your thoughts about this episode. Like I said, there was a lot of drama. Also, this is totally unrelated, but while I was watching the Valley live, I saw a notification, and I want to take a moment to say that I am really shocked and sad that Chef Ann Burrell unfortunately has passed away. Listen, when I was a little kid, I used to love the Food Network and I would watch it all the time because I love cooking. And I'll never forget her show, Worst Cooks in America. She was such a great host on that show. She was a great chef. She was funny. She was strict but funny at the same time and so loving and caring. I was really shocked by this one. So my heart goes out to her family because she was so young. But yeah, you guys, let me know your thoughts. As I said, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on next time. You'll have a great one. Bye.